Hi boys and girls, so today we are going to start a new chapter in our math books. We have finished up coins and now we are going to switch over to two-dimensional shapes or 2D shapes. I'm really excited to start this chapter with you. It is in chapter 13, so go ahead and get out your math workbooks and go to page 483. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that. But we are going to do pages 483 and 484 together. And then I will have you do pages 485 and 486 on your own. Alright, so here we go. We are looking at page 483, two-dimensional shapes. It says, some shapes are two-dimensional. And that just means that they are flat and they have no thickness. So these shapes are just flat to the ground. They're not big and thick. They don't stand up off the ground like a 3D shape, which we'll be talking about next week. This 2D shape, this shape has sides that can be measured. So you can see right here that this shape is flat. There's no thickness, and they can measure the sides. This side is about 3 inches long. This side is about 1 inch long. So something we're going to focus on today is the difference between closed shapes and open shapes. So let's start with closed shapes. It says closed shapes have connected lines. All right, so this right here is a square. It has 4 sides that have equal lengths. That means each side, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all the same length. Okay? I'm going to use my mouse. You can use your pencil to trace the square. So go ahead and start and trace around the square. Okay, did you start and stop at the same place? The answer should be yes. Are there any open parts? Are any of the lines open? For that, the answer should be no. If you can trace around a shape and there's no open parts, that means the shape is closed. All right? Now, let's look over here where it says open shapes. Okay, open shapes have a line missing. So that means if I started here and I started to trace this square all the way around, I can't get back over to where I started because there's no line there to connect it. Okay, same with this triangle. If I try to go, now if I wanted to go back over to where I started, I can't, because there's no line there at the bottom. That means that this is an open shape. It has a line missing. So open shapes have a line missing. Closed shapes have all connected lines. Okay? So let's look at these 3 shapes here. We have a square, a triangle, and a rectangle. Okay? How are all of these shapes the same? So one thing that is the same about all of them is that they're all closed shapes. Another thing that's the same is that they all have sides. A rectangle has 4 sides, a square has 4 sides, a triangle has 3 sides. One other thing that is the same about them is something we're going to talk about down here. It says the point where 2 sides meet is called a vertex or corner. All right? So a vertex is just one corner. Or if we're talking about more than one, we would call it a vertices, or we would say corners. All right? So the point where 2 sides meet is called a vertex or a corner. So a triangle, you can see, has 1, 2, 3 vertexes or vertices, or you could say it has 3 corners. A triangle also has 1, 2, 3 3 sides. All right, so these shapes up here are all the same because they all have sides, corners, and they're all closed shapes. Okay? And remember, this over here, these shapes are different because they're open shapes. Okay? It's missing that bottom line. You can't go all the way around and trace from the beginning to end because it's open. It's missing part of its sides. Each of these are missing their bottom side, so they're open shapes. All right, let's go ahead and turn over, and I'm going to flip the page up here to page 484, and we're going to do some more practice problems together. All right, number 1 says trace each shape. Draw some sort of dot at each corner and then write how many sides and corners. So for number 1, you guys can do this with me. I'm going to trace it and I'm going to count my sides as I trace it. So here we go. I have 1, 2, technical difficulties, and 3. Okay, my triangle has 1, 2, 3 sides, and it already tells us down here it has 3 sides. Now it also said to draw a little dot at each corner. Okay, this might be a little easier for you to do with your pencil, so I'm just going to try and make a little closed-in dot. I have 1, 2, 3. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3 corners. Okay, a corner is just where 2 sides meet together and kind of come together. So we know a triangle has 3 sides and 3 corners. All right, let's try number 2. Again, I'm going to trace and count my sides first. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so my square has 4 sides, okay? And they're all the same length. I have 4 sides. Now let me try and draw my little circles for the corners. All right, I have 1, 2, let's try this, 3, and 4. Okay, so now I have 4 corners. Now for you guys, this is going to be way easier to do in your math workbooks with a pencil. Miss Cleveland's trying to figure out how to do it on the screen. So for you guys, you should be able to just draw a little circle in each corner so you can see the points, you can see the corners where the sides are hitting each other. All right, let's try number 3. First, I'm going to count and trace my sides. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if I was doing this with a pencil, I wouldn't have these little spaces here, but my computer's a little tricky and it doesn't like that my sides are connecting, so it's not letting me connect my sides. So I hope that that's not too confusing for you guys, but you should be tracing the whole entire side with your pencil. So we know we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So I'm going to write 4 again. I'm going to switch back to black and make it a little bit thinner and write 4 sides. All right, let me try my corners now. If it'll let me. Let's try this. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I again have 4 sides, and now I have 4 corners. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 corners, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. All right, let's move on to number 4. It says, Jan draws a shape. Her shape has 3 sides and 3 corners. Does Jan draw a closed or open shape? Draw a picture to help. Now, it's really important that we realize that this is asking for 3 sides and for 3 corners. I don't want to cover up the writing. 3 sides and 3 corners. So we have to make sure that as we're drawing that our shape has both of those things. All right? So here we go. Let's first start by drawing some sides. So I'm going to start with 1 side. And then I'm going to draw my second side right here. So I have 2 sides right now. If I drew a third side right here, then I would only have 1 corner here and 1 corner here. I need 3 corners, so it's important that my third side goes from here down to this side over here. So now we can see that I have 1, 2, 3 sides, but I also have, let me change the color of my pen so you can see the different corners. I also have 1, 2, 3 corners. So I drew the shape that Jan drew, and I have 3 sides, and I have 1, 2, 3 corners. So here's the last question. Does Jan draw a closed or open shape? Okay, so here's a really good way to test it. If you've just drawn this shape in your book, put your finger inside of the shape, okay, and see if your finger has any way to get out of the middle. Like, is there an escape? Is there an open way to get your finger out of the middle? Okay, if there's no way out, the shape is closed. If you can move it out, if there is an open part, then the shape is open. So if I were to put my finger in the middle, I would see, oh, it's trapped. There's no way for me to get out of this shape. So I know that this shape is a closed shape. Forgive my messy handwriting. It is a